The Chicago Bulls actually take care of business and blow out the Brooklyn Nets 124-102 behind Coby White absolutely going nuclear from shooting, finally, and Dosunmu stepping up in a big way as well. But here's the real question. Does this win actually change anything about the Chicago Bulls? I think I know what the answer is going to be to that one. We're also going to talk about trade deadline, expiring contract, a massive free agent blueprint, and the latest on Josh Giddey's return. All that and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Tari Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And the Chicago Bulls got a win over the Brooklyn Nets. We weren't able to do our normal post-game shows because of the Chicago Bears game, so we're going to talk a little bit about it on today's episode, this daily episode. So Brooklyn was resting Michael Porter Jr. in this game, which I think it says something that Brooklyn feels like they can rest Michael Porter Jr. against the Chicago Bulls because they beat us already. But in this game, the thing is that Coby White finally found his shooting stroke. This has been the one of the biggest things that's been lacking from Coby White's game since he returned from his initial injury after missing the start of the season. He has 24 points in this one, going 8 of 14 from the field, 7 of 11 from the three-point line, and 1 of 1 from the free throw line. Now, with that means that he only made one shot that was not a three-pointer. He only took 3 shots that weren't three-pointers. So say what you will about that. There's still some concern there because I don't want Coby White living just at the free throw line. The lack of drives in that game is exactly why he didn't get to the free throw line, closer to the 6 free throws that he's averaging per game on the season so far. But hey, you can't argue with results. At the end of the day, Coby White got going. And sometimes for scorers, you just need a game like this to where you can get it together and start shooting well. Keep in mind, Coby White on the season now, shooting 33.8%, is still the lowest mark of his NBA career. Came into the league shooting 35 at least from 3. So we need him to get back to his typical 37, 38% from 3, but this is a nice step in the right direction. Like I said, Coby White was averaging coming into this game almost 6 free throws per game. He only got to the free throw line once. But hey, when you're that hot from 3, what else do you need to do? He took care of business, 3 assists, only 1 turnover, and 2 steals. It was Coby White's first best game yet since coming back from injury, and maybe even his initial injury that left him out, for the first month of the season. So it was really good to see Coby White have this type of game. Dosunmu as well, 19 points off the bench. Hasn't been his normal self. He started off this season scoring the ball, almost 17 points per game off the bench, 19 from him. He goes 5 of 8 from the three-point line. Overall, the Bulls take 46 threes in this game, shoot 43% from 3, 20 of 46. Over half their shots were three-pointers, right around half of their shots were three-pointers. He took 94 shots on the night. They did shoot the ball 52% overall from the field. Really good to see that one. But it wasn't just those guys either. A lot of players stepped up big in this game. Matas Buzelis with 17 points, Vooch with 17 and 11, 12 points for Jalen Smith, who continues to look. The Jalen Smith, Matas Buzelis, the 3-4. With that, I like this lineup more and more. Of course, we faced off against Utah with it and Brooklyn and some other teams, but I can't wait to see when Josh Giddey gets back, how he can use that. If they keep Jalen Smith in the starting lineup and then bring Josh Giddey, move Isaac Okoro to the bench, something I want to see, but I don't know if we will. But Jalen Smith, 12 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals in this game. Jalen Smith continues as a starter to look really good for this Bulls team, and that's even out there with Nikola Vucevic. I think I've always said he doesn't necessarily play the best in a double big lineup with Vooch, but he's finding a way to be productive in it. Billy Donovan staggering the minutes a little bit too as well. So far through the month of January, he's averaging 11 points, 9 rebounds on 43% shooting from the field, only 27% shooting from 3. The last 3 games, though, he shot in 40%, and 50% from the three-point line, which is really good. He's averaging a block and a half per game, bringing some more rim protection that the Chicago Bulls lack, with Matas also out there as a shot blocker. Jalen Smith is slowly but surely really starting to put some things together. As a starter on the season, he's averaging 12 points, 9.5 rebounds, 1.5 blocks, almost a steal per game as well, and shooting the ball 46% from the field. Now, he is only shooting 16% from three as a starter, which raises its own questions, but he's playing really good as a starter in there for the Chicago Bulls. And that's what you like to see in that one. Tre Jones came off the bench in this game. He did score 10 points, along with Kevin Huerter scoring 11 points as well. And overall, the Bulls just took care of business. We're not gonna act like that, like it was the Brooklyn Nets with Ike Monka Porter Jr. Yeah, they beat us 2 times this year, but the Bulls came in here and they did exactly what they needed to do. They took care of business, and that's what you really like to do. When you look at the starting lineup in the second half, it was Coby White, Isaac Okoro, Matas, Jalen Smith, and Nikola Vucevic, and they did really good, man. Now, it's against the Nets, who are the Brooklyn Nets, right? And it is what it is from there. But sometimes you need a win like that, especially with the way that the Bulls shot, to maybe start waking them up some. They'll have to prove it, right? There's nothing for the Bulls that's given. We can't just assume the Bulls are going to do anything, if they're going to maintain the level of play or do anything like that. But it's good to see the Bulls get a win here. And over their last 5 games, the Bulls are 3-2. Over their last 5, they're back at 2 games below 500. This week is going to be a difficult week for them with the Clippers, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Brooklyn Nets. That's who they face this week. Those are their 3 games this week. So if the Bulls are able to win the week this week, which means at least 2 wins, they can come out of this week, 1 game below 500 if they can do that. So, we'll see what they can do. After this week, the schedule doesn't really get any better. I mean, you got Los Angeles, Indiana, and 3 games against Miami next week, which, that's going to be a little mini series. It's going to be fun to see who comes out of that one. But, they probably should have Josh Giddey back, which we'll talk about here in a second. But overall, throughout this time period of Josh Giddey being gone, there have been some players that have definitely stepped up. Jalen Smith has stepped up while Josh Giddey's been gone, and that's because of the lineup change, him going into the starting lineup. Tre Jones definitely benefited from it, and it's funny that those are 2 players that we've heard that on the Bulls roster, as far as the non-expiring contracts, have some pretty big value around the league. So, we'll see what continues to happen with that one. But overall, I'll say this, right? What we've made it through with this Josh Giddey thing. And by the way, Josh Giddey practiced with the Windy City Bulls yesterday. He made it through that. They've already recalled him back up. So that now opens his window to return sometime this week, which could be really good to get for the Bulls to get Josh Giddey back in this. And now you got some lineup decisions to make. Do you do Josh Giddey, Coby with Matas at the 3, Jalen Smith at the 4? He's played so well for you as a starter. He's giving you more than what Isaac Okoro is giving you at the starter. But I can also understand them wanting a point of attack defender and Isaac Okoro out there in the starting lineup. But it has created a little bit of that question there now, right? Tre is Tre. He's going to back up Josh Giddey. That's going to be what it's going to be in this case. But I tell you what, Tre Jones, Matas Buzelis, Jalen Smith, these have been the 3 players that have stepped up the most in Josh Giddey's absence. And I love to see it for this Bulls team. You want to see players. And one of the things that I did task Matas Buzelis with, and I said that I wanted to see from Matas this year, is I wanted to see what Matas Buzelis was going to do stepping up this season. And with Josh Giddey out, you needed somebody to step up. And Matas has really done that, and he's done that pretty damn well. Also, like, you got to love to see Matas, who, has had a bit of an up and down rookie season, but the month of January, this has been the majority of time that we've been missing Josh Giddey, 17 points. He's shooting the ball 45% from the field, 34% from 3. Not great percentages, but not terrible either. He's had some games where he shot over 50%. He's also averaging 5.3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.7 blocks per game. Matas Buzelis has had himself a really good month of January. That doesn't mean that there haven't been some games in there that have been a little bit shaky, but he has had those games in there. You look the same thing for Tre Jones. In the month of January, he really kind of gotten back to what he was at the start of the season. 12 points per game, 54% shooting from the field, 36% shooting from 3, with 7 assists, 2 rebounds that he's averaged per game, and over a steal per game. Matas, Jalen, and Tre Jones, those have been the guys that have stepped up the most with Josh Giddey gone. But now, with Josh Giddey's return window being opened back up, and we could very well see Josh Giddey return on Tuesday or Thursday's game for the Chicago Bulls, this Bulls team is getting back to closer health. Zach Collins is going to be out for another couple weeks at minimum until he gets that boot off his foot, so we don't even know what that's going to look like for this team. But we'll figure it out. We will figure it out, and this has been a team that has had to have the next man step up all season long. So getting Giddey back, we have the closer thing to the full lineup. We'll see what the Bulls do with the trade deadline, if they do bring in an Eve Missy like's been reported, or Nick Claxton or anything like that. But I know some people doubt what this team could really be even when fully healthy. And that's fair. And that's why I did say on an episode or two ago, the Bulls can't wait to evaluate this team at full health before they start making moves. But you can look at the data that you do have when you are fully healthy and start trying to pick in and put in what you do need. So we're going to see. But one of the things that we've talked a lot about this season is the Bulls and their expiring contracts, right? We've talked a lot about the expiring contracts. And I want to ask the question, what if the Bulls don't do anything with their expiring contracts? I know that there are going to be tons of Bulls fans that immediately look at that and they scream and they cry and they do all that type of stuff. But expiring is always about flexibility, right? And I want to say this because I have been saying a lot, hey, I don't see the Chicago Bulls team making a big swing at the trade deadline. I still think the safest thing is probably a minor move. But if you're expecting kind of wholesale changes, I don't know if that's going to come, right? But with the Bulls right now, they have tons of financial flexibility. And flexibility is one of those things, and leverage is what you have, but you have to use those times, right? And you have to use that. And we have to see what's going to happen in this one, right? Now, I want to talk about the options for the Chicago Bulls if they decide not to be big-time buyers at the trade deadline. There's been a lot made on what the Bulls can do with their cap space in the offseason if they with free agency. And the free agent class isn't great, but there are some free agents that I do think the Chicago Bulls team could legitimately go after, in the offseason that could work for this team. So I have a list of 7 players here of Bulls that they can go after. The Bulls could have about $79 million in cap space, even though they're having $89 million in expiring. And so we'll see what they can do with that, right? So one, and this is the one that you guys have brought up a lot that I want to talk about, is Peyton Watson. Now, there's a question on what he fits with Denver. Would Denver even let him go? He's a restricted free agent, right? But when you look at the Denver's roster, Jokic, Christian Braun, Aaron Gordon, Jonas Valanciunas, Cam Johnson, right? These are all players that have missed some time for the Denver Nuggets this season, but that Peyton Watson has stepped up hugely in that. He's 23 years old. He's averaging 14 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block per game, right? Since December 31st, Peyton Watson is averaging 24 points per game, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and he got a Western Conference Player of the Week award. That sounds like somebody that the Denver Nuggets aren't going to let go, right? But with him set to become a restricted free agent, and even hearing that the Denver could like to bring him back, it depends on how much they're willing to pay. The Denver Nuggets are a team that are very conscious. It's one of the reasons why they did let all their depth go after winning a title, because they do think and they look at the cap. And is Peyton Watson the type of player that the Chicago Bulls should try to overpay a little bit to get their team not to match their contract? That's the thing that you have to ask. We don't know what the Denver Nuggets diet is going to be for that type of thing, but I do think, look at Peyton Watson as a team. He's doing it on a team that wins in the West, and it very well could happen. Even without re-signing Christian or Peyton Watson, this Denver Nuggets team is $11 million into the first tax apron. That's without even re-signing him. So it is going to be something that they really do have to think. And this is going to go to my theory that I've had for a while. Restricted free agency is going to start being really big, because you're going to be able to test if teams are willing to go to that second tax apron to keep a player. And Peyton Watson is the type of player that you could put that offer sheet out and you can see what you can look at. And he's a legitimate option to sign after having a breakout season. Next up, Tari Eason with the Houston Rockets, another player who is a restricted free agent, right? Now, the question is, he's 24 years old. He is a high-level, versatile defender, somebody that you put in the starting lineup as either your 3 or your 4. He can guard a lot of positions. He can help with pick-and-roll defense. If you add him also with a defensive-minded frontline center, then you probably have shored up a lot of what you need defensively, right? Now, Tari Eason has missed a lot of time this season. He's had an oblique strain, which has him. He comes off the bench for the Houston Rockets team. Would they be willing to keep him? They have to make some decisions with Fred VanVleet. They have to make some decisions with future players that they have to re-sign as well. Could the Bulls or any other team, for that matter, go in and steal Tari Eason away in restricted free agency? I do think it's a possibility there. With them re-signing and giving Kevin Durant an extension, it's definitely a possibility. I don't know if it'll happen for sure. He's averaging 12 points, 6 rebounds, 47.7% shooting from the field. He's a 46% three-point shooter this year as well. Look at that. He only takes 4.5 per game, but hey, he's shooting the 3 ball decently well for what he is, averaging over a steal per game also. Tari Eason could be the on-ball defender that this Bulls team need. You pair that also with a defensive-minded frontline center, like I said, and then maybe you shore up a lot for what you're lacking in the Bulls lineup for defense. So, the thing is that could Tari Eason and Matas Buzelis play well together? But then you also have to factor in you do have Noah Essengay, who the Bulls are going to want to develop. I don't think he's going to go right into the starting lineup anytime soon. So your forward rotation, Tari Eason, Matas Buzelis, Noah Essengay, as 3 players that can all play either forward position, is that kind of more modern than what the NBA is going to? I think it is, and I think that Tari Eason is a player that could help. He fits the timeline in youth, and you could be willing to kind of overpay to keep the Rockets from keeping him. So Tari Eason is another one that you can go after. Next up, Walker Kessler. Now, this is a guy that we've talked a whole lot about. He's the defensive center that the Bulls need. Reportedly, he wants an average of $30 million per year. Walker Kessler is a guy, 2.5 blocks per game for his career. You need that. That is rim protection in a block sense, but also he does the other form of rim protection. I'll talk to you guys a lot about his ability to play in pick and roll defense, his ability, what he even showed is growth offensively this season, but what he does, he protects the rim. He keeps other bigs from getting to the rim. That's how good defensively he is. If you go and look at the advanced analytics, and no, advanced analytics aren't everything, but in looking at the advanced analytics for Walker Kessler, you see a player that is absolutely bonkers. And he brings everything that you could possibly need from a defensive center. Now, offensively, he's going to have to feast off what Josh Giddey does, but that's a lot of what we need anyway. Almost 90% of Nikola Vucevic's offense is coming from assist anyway, right? So he's being assisted on a lot of his offense. So getting a more defensive-minded center that's going to need another player to facilitate for them, we're kind of already in that world. We just don't have the defensive upside of that. So I have been talking about Walker Kessler literally since we passed on him to draft Dalen Terry. You even look at this season before he went down, small sample size, only 5 games, but the kid was shooting 75% from 3. 75% from 3. Now, he's only taking a 1.5 of them per game, but to me, I don't need my center to be a 3-point shooter. But to have a center that can hit threes, especially if the defense sags off on them, that's what you want. The 2.5 blocks per game for his career, immaculate, no doubt about that. The rebounding is really good. His offensive rebounding is right up there with his defensive rebounding. He's averaged almost 5 offensive rebounds per game over the last 2 seasons, 4.6 over the last 2 years, 3.5 per game for his career. Walker Kessler is almost the perfect defensive center that the Chicago Bulls need. And with the Utah Jazz being a cap-conscious team as well, I think you have to look at it. There may be an opportunity for you to overpay for Walker Kessler, but you better damn well be sure that he's going to stay healthy. He's going to play for you. He's had 1 season of playing over 70 games, another season of playing over 60, but 58 games last season, 5 games this season. There are going to be some people that have those injury concerns about Walker Kessler, and you just can't deny that, and we'll see what he can do with it. Next up, Quentin Grimes with the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, this is more of a player that if Coby White either leaves or is traded this offseason, whatever it is, Quentin Grimes has shown tremendous defensive upside this year. How he stepped up as an on-ball defender this year has really opened my eyes. Last year with the 76ers, that's when we saw him have the offensive explosion. This year, it's a lot of defense for Quentin Grimes, and I got to give him credit for that. He has had a really good season defensively, and that's how he's found a way to impact the game. And there's something to be said about players that find new ways to impact the game when the team changes. Last year, when he came into the team, they needed a scorer. He stepped up as a scorer. This year, with VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey doing the scoring that they were doing at the beginning of the season, you haven't needed a Quentin Grimes to be that level of scorer. But even with that, he's still giving you 14 points, 4 rebounds, almost 4 assists, really, really fucking good defense. He's one of the better on-ball defensive players this entire season in the NBA. And so when you look at that, that's something that you just can't deny for him. He has some scoring upside. Now he's flashing that defensive upside. Even if you do end up keeping a Coby White, let's say that, but you let a Kevin Huerter go, I wouldn't mind signing Quentin Grimes to be one of the first guards off the bench along with Dosunmu. If you're bringing and Quentin Grimes off your bench as your backup guards, you have one of the best guard rotations in the league. You really do have that. So Quentin Grimes is another free agent, and he's an unrestricted free agent because he took the qualifying offer this year. And I think that he can do wonders for the Chicago Bulls. Next up, Jock Landale. Now, this is a guy that my Ozzy is going to love hearing me say. Jock Landale has been playing on a minimum contract, and he's outplaying that. 11.6 rebounds. He's 30 years old, right? So he's not a big man of the future, but he is a player that you could get up here to add some more frontline depth, which the Bulls absolutely do need, right? His price tag is going to be above the vet minimum, and so you have to kind of question what you do there. But if you let Zach Collins go, Jock Landale as your new backup center is not a bad option for you at all. So I like the low risk option for Jock Landale, and I think there's a high reward there for him. I think he can have a really great season and career here as a backup and be your backup for a while. So you have to see in that one. Next up, another Coby White replacement potentially is Keon Ellis, right? And it really and it's hard to say that he's a straight up replacement. It's that if you let Coby go, Coby doesn't resign, you trade him in another one. He's 26 years old, which is already the same age. Is that even a little bit older than Coby? But when you look at the defense that he can bring to this backcourt, I think that's somebody that, again, could interest the Chicago Bulls. I'm not saying that he's a main target or anything, but he is definitely a player that could interest the Chicago Bulls for sure. And I like Keon Ellis's, I like what he brings to the team. I like his floor. That's it is. I love the floor. Doesn't have too much upside anymore, but the floor that he has as a player, I think is really, really good. Really good. And then lastly, another player that the Bulls can look at, another 76ers player, is Dominique Barlow. 22 years old. He's in his third season. He's averaging 8 points, 5 rebounds, 54% shooting from the field. He's 6'9", 214 pounds. He's averaging 24 minutes per game, shooting the ball pretty well. He takes some threes. He doesn't hit them too frequently often, but as a power forward that you can bring in and help that if you're not quite sure that you're ready to trust Noah Essinga or whatever else, the dude's averaging career highs across the board, and I do think he can be one of those decent, low-risk, low options for the Chicago Bulls that can end up paying off pretty big. And we've seen those type of players before. So I think that can happen with the Chicago Bulls for sure. But listen, those are guys that the Bulls could target in free agency. A lot of you guys have been asking, what exactly could the Bulls do in free agency? Those are some names that could help. Not star-level names, but those are names that can definitely help. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Chicago Bulls Central. Should the Bulls trade his expiring contracts, or should they wait and go all in free agency? How does Josh Giddey's return change anything for the Chicago Bulls? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. Make sure you guys like the channel. You can follow us at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.